Good morning. This is John G. Presco coming to you live from Springfield, Oregon. It's May 26 and it's 7:23 a.m. Um, Quite a monumental event yesterday. I had three sisters from the Mormon church over as my guests, and they sat over here. The two younger sisters were on the sofa, and the elder sister, who I believe to be around 70, sat here in this chair. And we discovered who and what's going on in this painting. And there exists a photograph of the four of us standing in front of this painting, which I'll move to right now. They gave me some literature. They gave me last night before I went to bed, I put the play of salvation and my Book of Mormon by the Covered Wagon. Mormon religion, a lot of it was born in covered wagons. The trek west is famous for the founders of the Mormon church coming to Utah and settling there. There's something to do with the grasshoppers and the locusts and the seagulls. There's a movie. Just getting up, had my coffee. So I'm a subscriber to having witnesses or having one's revelations or religious experiences or observations through study or to kind of go through a validation. I usually have a runny nose in the morning. I'm going to have to tolerate this. So we talked about my angel. We talked about my grandparents. This is Alice Stutmeister. And I showed the three sisters the Stutmeister monument tomb in Berlin with the life-size statue, a replica of Christus, which the Mormons use. And the elder was blown away. And there were just a lot of connections like this. So that's what I'm talking about. Where does one get spiritual and religious permission to do anything? Join a church or go seek a church, seek and thou shalt find. What's the common ground? What's the common quest? I said to the younger sisters, why is it that you find truth in the last place you look? And I didn't wait for an answer. I said, well, because the truth was there in the first place you looked. And what goes on between the alpha and omega of this search, it is basically scripture and church and supposedly the word of God written down by men, scribes, regards to the Torah, uh, the writing of the New Testament, the choosing of Paul, all these uh, space that fills in the between of, seeking the truth is boom, you found it. You have, otherwise you're not going to go on. You're not going to pick up anything or read anything or go into a church or a temple. You're not going to uh, go down on your knees. You're not going to pray. You're not going to take a communion. You're not going to do so many things. You're not going to pick up the text. You're not going to sing a hymn. You're not going to hear the organ play. Uh, if you do not find the truth at the very beginning. And I understood that these three sisters were going to offer me a gift. And they uh, successfully found my apartment in the McKinsey Meadow uh, complex. I asked them to call me as soon as they turned in. Uh, and I got no call, but I felt their presence, and it was like 5 minutes after 6 p.m. when they came over on the 25th. And I wanted to film. I was going to ask them when they sat down if I could put up my little camera and film this conversation, because I felt it was going to be monumental, historic, and indeed it is. And I felt, gosh, that's presumptuous. Boy, talk about religious vanity, John. You're already going to proclaim yourself a prophet of the Mormon Church, and you haven't been in the tank with the bulls around her. But they had a sense of that. And we had some good laughs about the presence of Moroni in Walmart, in the vegetable produce area. There was a divine happening when these two sisters and I and these spirit and angels, and I would have to say the presence of Jesus really was a gathering. It was a happening. Produce section, Walmart. Who would guess it? Walmart is getting such bad press right now. Well, everything is Walt Disney, everything. So I showed them. I put my Roy Rosemont press up on my TV screen and hooked up to my computer, and I was able to scroll down my post on the new temple they're going to be building quite near here. In fact, I've gone by there. The MX goes by there. I actually went up there fishing with Mark Gall, and I was going to ride my bike up into that, I believe, the very field. And I got, that I believe the temple is going to be built on. But they put up a post, cougar sighting, beware. So I see the statue Christus, coming to me, and there's a puma or a mountain lion next to Jesus. I would think that would be a wonderful statue to put at the new temple, because it's so American. The mountain lion is an American cat, great cat. And Samson, the Nazarite, wrestles a lion. Unfortunately, kills it. Maybe that turns off a lot of animal lovers. So it's just, see, the whole story, Roy Rosemont Press, is a genealogical tale, a very long one. And the opposition that I've had to doing this family tree is incredible. Just incredible. The Historic Society of Belmont did not roll out the red carpet. In fact, they threw up some barbed wire. Did everything to trip me up and humiliated me. So, well, yeah, well, all of us, are related to somebody. A big deal. This is Kathy McCarthy. She said the greatest line was, do you think you're giving us something new that we already didn't know? You talk about being disqualified. I mean, now that I think I'm in under the umbrella of the Mormon Church and the great Granite Mountain repository, where my whole blog might end up. It's like, you think you're offering, we don't want your history. Don't stop posting on the Belmont Historic site, You're not going to take over. You're not going to, get, embraced into the bosom of us, the historic side. Oh, by the way, I wrote this book using photographs of your family. You might be violating my copyright. I said, you're kidding me. It wasn't like, the embrace I got with these three sisters. I mean, they want my family history big time. I showed them the constitutions, the pages of the Constitution. Yeah, that's my great fourth great grandfather. Wow. But the most impressive thing, which we'll talk about today, because this is the real opening, the real validation. It's like, the stamp, Mark IV Productions. I mean, this is written in granite here. Is when I showed the three sisters the statue, a reproduction of the statue Christus that was made by Bertel Thoraldsen. And I married a Thoraldsen. Mary Ann Thoraldsen claimed that she was related to Eric the Red, Eric Thoraldsen. And Bertel Thoraldsen was a Danish sculptor and medalist of the international fame who spent most of his life in Italy. Thoraldsen was born in Copenhagen to a working-class Danish Icelandic family and was accepted into the Royal Danish Academy of Art. His father was carved wood. He was a wood carver for ships. There's a lot of ornate carving on ships at the time, men of war. But he's the one that did the statue Christus. And let's see, let me get to that. The Mormons adopted the statue that overlooks 4 Stuttmeisters below. They're buried in the ground in that fantastic monument in Berlin. The Stuttmeister, it's a crypt, or I don't know. I may have to get the right name for this. But it's life-size. I told her, I said, yeah, that's a life-size statue. It's of a famous statue. It was like, wow. The Stuttmeisters appear to be Lutheran evangelicals, and Ralph Stuttmeister came to New York with his son, and then he went to Chile, and he might have been an evangelical minister in Chile. And what he was doing in New York is still being studied by my cousin uh, uh, Barkley. God, sorry, I forgot your name. And she's gone there. She's gone there and seen this monument, and she's done research into the German archives. But let me read what it says about the use by the LDS Church. In the 1950s, Stephen L. Richards, an LDS Church apostle, purchased a 3.4 meter, 11-foot replica of the Christus and presented it to the church president, David O. McKay. It was moved to the Temple Square in Salt Lake City, Utah in 1966. A second Christus replica was created to be displayed in the church pavilion at the 1964 New York World's Fair. This is an artist that my wife, Mary Ann Thornton, was an artist. And she was very close with Thomas Pynchon, the writer. So the statue that was already overlooking my deceased kin in Berlin is now adopted by the Mormon Church, and it represents them at the World's Fair. Coming to me. The display of the replica was intended to help visitors understand that Latter-day Saints are Christians. Really, are they? The three sisters are wanting to hear already. They said start, they gave, we talked about reading the Book of Mormon and begin at the beginning, and we read parts of the introduction. And they're anxious to see what I think, because there's a lot of questions. The text, the history is scrutinized. There's a lot of questions. And I've already encountered them. You can't hardly read anything about the Mormons without coming into these question marks. They look like cobras, ready to strike. So since then, the church has created replicas of the statue and displayed them in visitor centers near its temples in Hamilton, New Zealand, Lali, Hawaii, Los Angeles, California, Idaho Falls, Idaho, Mexico City, London, England, Portland, Brazil, on and on. Replicas are also on display at the church's visitor centers at the Hill Chamal in New York, in Independence, Missouri, and adjacent to the Rome, Italy temple, where it is accompanied by Thoroldson's 12 apostles. Can't make this up, folks. And you just can't make it up. I mean, when did it start writing itself, this history? And Fremont's were close friends of the famous sculptor who did Mount Rushmore, and he did the Confederate monument, and he did portraits and a sculpture of Jesse Benton Fremont. My sister was a world famous artist, Christine Rosamond Benton, who married Garth Benton, who was a cousin of Thomas Hart Benton, and whose grandfather was Senator Thomas Hart Benton, whose daughter was Jessie Benton, who married John Fremont, a co-founder of the Republican Party, and it's the first presidential candidate for the Republican. Ta-da. Let's see. On April 4th, 2020, Church President Russell M. Nelson announced a new symbol for the church featuring an image of the Christus as the central element placed above the church's name. The church's name. Name. And let's isolate the name. Wow. The three sisters now identified who these two women are. They're in the Book of Mormon. And they're carrying some documents that they rescued that were thrown out a window. I'm not going to give their names. You Mormons will probably know or go and find them. But I explained to the three sisters what was going on with this painting that I began on January 6th, 2 days after the insurrection at our Capitol building, where I believe the statue of Senator Thomas Hart Benton is still in the rotunda. People representing a radical religion, well, several radical religious, whatever, found permission to go and violate our nation's capital. I talked about the lights that was coming in, the two streams of light as being the two witnesses. I showed them the lights that was coming around my angel here, that I was going to put wings on, but I wanted to see if people could see the wings. I understand this was an angel, and a lot of people, not a lot of people, several people had that. Marilyn and other people recognize this as an angel. And she's carrying the globe of the world, which is one of these Chinese floats, for nets. And she's offering the world back. I had a near-death experience in 1969. We believe that was February 11th, 1969. And I found these rocks at McClure's Beach. And I saw God, and he restored my life. I said, all I ever wanted was the truth, and he showed me the kingdom of the truth. And then he restored my life. And it's been quite a journey. It's, it all's well that ends well. I believe I'm going to become baptized at the Mormon temple, maybe the new one. But the work on this temple is already being done. I was telling the sisters that how the light were coming in my windows in certain parts of the year, and falling upon these works of art. And I told them, as I do architecture as a hobby, so I could do floor plan, and then I could go into a trance, meditate, close my eyes, and actually walk into this room, the walls and everything. When I do this, to look at the position of the windows. And I look at a window and I'll, have the whole sun go through its yearly traversing. And what would this light be in December 5th? I don't know if I'm that accurate, but I can visualize a winter sun coming in the windows versus a summer sun. It's a gift. My mother had this ability also to visualize space. And I told them I augured the Kankisi mural on the Oddfellows building as sort of a prank, and they didn't know what an augur was. And I said, well, Pontius Pilate was a master augur. In fact, there's a coin with an augur's wand. I said a lot of the Catholic religion is based upon the Roman religion, built around augury. The crusera of the Pope, and the idea that augurs read the swimming of the fish. You get a Pope's fish. The casting of the net. Over here. Put your, is augury looking at the flight of birds. I believe Pontius Pilate put Jesus to an augury's test. I'm absolutely certain of this. And no one's come to this conclusion, or no one's been shown this in a divine manner. And I've been shown a lot. And I've been very concerned about my archive, Royal Rosemont Press, being destroyed by my enemies and disappeared. But I believe it's going to be saved. In fact, I'm going to be contacting the elder of sister who has worked in the archives for the LDS church. And I could tell that she was already on this. I believe that she knows that she was brought here by the Christus, by Jesus, to help codify the repository at Granite Mountain. And what's in this box is not the electoral college votes that these usurping Christian cults were after, but what these two Mormon young women gathered when documents were thrown out a window. Now I'm going to be researching them when I end this video because I think this is a repository for the revelations that I've had in studying the Bible since 1987. And I've been so concerned and distraught about where my revelations are going to go, who's going to want them, who's going to keep them, who's going to put them in a eternal place. And it looks like that problem was solved yesterday here when I invited 3 guests and the first 2 witnesses, and they brought a third, and there is another streak of light. So, wow, much to I was asked, what do I think the Mormon religion has to offer me? And I says, well, I learned to do genealogy at the Information Center on 18th back in 96, I believe. When I started doing genealogy of the Rosemont family. And I said, the Rosemont name has been traced to Rougemont in Switzerland. And by researching the Rougemont name in Switzerland, I found some Knight Templars at a Knight Templar chapel in France. There's a tomb where they're buried in Switzerland. But I've proven through my genealogical work that the Knights Templar owned the Shroud of Turin. So the elder woman, very good making, mental notes. This is a helper that I've been praying for. You add the statue of Christus and the Shroud of Turin. The Stuttmeisters were supposed to have been Teutonic Knights who did interact with the Knights Templars. Supposedly went to the Mount of Olives to look for the Holy Grail. I debated about putting the Black poetress who wrote the poem, The Hill. I was going to put her in there reading her poem, but my muse, my divine muse, went, no, that's not it. That's not it. So it was a great puzzle. Then who were these two figures? That's been the great dilemma since January 8th, as I began this. As my paintings evolved, I knew they were divinely commissioned. now I know, I found out. As an artist, to have people, as an artist, to have people help me, which is something I've been praying for, is quite extraordinary. And there's some photographs of the four of us by this painting, and I'll get permission to post on them. I don't know if I'm going to be revealing too much about these women because it might be a book, an important book, and an important gift to the Mormon Church. And I'm just a messenger. I was named after John the Baptist. I was born 3 days after Yom Kippur during a star shower, October 8th, 1946 in Oakland, California. My mother was too spent to go to the window to look at the stars. The nurse said, Rosemary, look, the stars, the skies are filled with shooting stars. So I've been destined for the church. And we talked about the Order of St. Francis having to flee Germany and how the Weineke and Stark, my Weineke ancestors and kin, adopted them, and Dominica Mary Weineke became the head of the Order of St. Francis, and she's the one that instigated the founding of Briarcliff College, which the elder sister knew somebody who went there. It's just another interlocking connection, interlocking permission, really from God, from Christus, from the Mormon Church itself, who I believe their intentions are pure and they're remaining incorruptible in this horrible union of church and the Republican Party. It's just, well, I've said enough on my blog. So all's well that ends well. And this is the end of this tape on Christus at Thorolfsson in the statue that overlooks my Stutmeister Ken in Berlin and overlooks many people who come on the grounds of the Church of Latter-day Saints. All right, this is John Presco. You have a monumental day, because this is your time to have such a thing. We did talk about whether this is the end times, but again, all's well that ends well. And I'm over here getting my mouse so I can end this incredible experience. And I'm very grateful to the three sisters in the Mormon Church, and really look forward to seeing the new temple built just a mile away. Right. You have a blessed day.